Resting didn't ease the psychological terror that Liya had seen on the villagers, as many of them shook in fear while laying on the ground. Rather than succumbing to fear, Liya chose productivity. She aided villagers in cleaning up after the Brotherhood, hoping it would ease her mind. As she collected debris, helplessness overcame her as Okoro's betrayal endangered her and shattered her trust. The weight triggered Liya. She focused on a different area of the village where an older man approached her. He was calming. After a brief moment of peace, they talked, and she started to feel better. A few hours later, a woman offered to redo Liya's hair, suggesting she add long extensions for a fresh start. Nervously, Liya agreed. She listened to the woman's stories of resilience for hours. As time went on, Liya took time for herself while under a tree in the village. She reflected on her past and prepared for a life-changing decision that she knew was coming. The final words she wrote in the notebook were, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." Meanwhile, back in Lagos, Okoro and Adesola hurried through a crowded mall. They had less than 5 hours to return Liya safely, and there was no way they could come up with 10 million naira. Liya's uncle called constantly, but Okoro ignored it all. Desperate, Adesola suggested fleeing to her family in Delta State. She suggested a new life together. Back in the village, Liya shared her experiences with the villagers in a circle. Liya cried with emotion. She realized her danger impacted others' lives. She came to tell stories, but became part of one. She made a strange request then. She asked the villagers to safeguard her memoirs. Confused, they nodded. The Brotherhood returns. The sound of motorcycles signaled the return of the Ajakuta Brotherhood. However, their leader's mistake was gathering the men in one group, sending them on different tasks. A regrettable decision. Back in the village, Liya stood outside, reflecting on her upcoming action. Overwhelmed by her lack of options, she faced the consequences of her choice. On the run, Liya decided to make a run for it. Unclear about her destination, she came upon dirty water. At first, she jumped into the water, trying to gather her thoughts as she looked around feverishly. Seconds stretched into minutes. But then, she heard a few of the Brotherhood's voices. At this point, she paused, trying to locate the direction of the voices. A few minutes later, she submerged herself in the water. However, something caught her attention. A few feet away, one of the Brotherhood members stood near his Okada, casually smoking, completely unaware of her presence. He then made a fatal mistake when he left the Okada unattended, with the key still in it. For the past 2 days, the Okada drivers had taught Liya how to ride. She wasn't an expert, but she knew enough. Liya quickly jumped on the bike and twisted the throttle. The Okada revved up. The man spun around. Too late. The bike's slow start made her nervous, but she focused, and it sped up. Flames burned behind her, though she didn't see anyone. Meanwhile, back at the village, a Brotherhood leader found the man who abandoned his Okada. Angry, the leader accused him of breaking the Brotherhood's cardinal rule. The leader raised his knife, declaring that the man's blood must be spilled. The man's screams filled the air, then silence followed. However, as Liya rode on, consumed by exhaustion, in the distance checkpoint lights appeared. She saw several armed guards as she approached. No gang would have that many police cars. She slowed and trembled as she reached the checkpoint. An officer approached. At this point, she spoke fast, explaining the situation. The officer asked her a few questions, and she gave him her uncle's name. The man and Liya's uncle spoke, and the officer arranged for her to stay at their outpost before flying home the next morning. Liya spoke with her uncle later. She tearfully told him everything, including betrayal, ransom, Brotherhood, and escape. Her uncle's calm voice barely contained his rage. He assured her everything was handled.